Hello, 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 everybody. It's me, Callie Meister. How are you doing today? So, I decided to go online today, create some videos and some content for my YouTube and my Facebook. And what I want to talk about first is mutable, fixed, and cardinal signs. I had to think there for a minute. Yeah, so I posted this really great article on my Facebook page that created a little bit of dialogue, and it was about signs that are the most lovable. And I thought it was really interesting, and some of it I thought was pretty dead on. Now, here's the problem with this, though, that I have is that that's that writer's perspective of these signs. And that writer's perspective is going to be a little bit jaded by their own zodiac sign. And while I could understand where they were going, some of them I felt very, very misunderstood and misrepresented. Also, I may find one sign very lovable where another person will find that sign very unlovable. And so you have to look not necessarily on a level of best to worst, but characteristics versus flaws. And so that's what I want to focus on these. I'm going to break down each element. I'm going to start with the Aries, Sagittariuses, and Leos, the fire signs, because we're in Aries season right now. But even before I want to start that, I want to talk about the cardinals, mutables, and fixed signs. This is why I want to talk about this, because this plays a huge factor into attraction, and people really don't factor this in a lot of the times. The reason it does is there's a level of how each sign puts itself out there in what they do. And this can be very important to compatibility. And the first sign I want to go into is the cardinal signs, because that's Aries. And I'm going to go into Aries first. But I want to talk about these cardinals. Now, here's the thing about the cardinal signs. That's the beginning of the season. So these are the people who initiate things. These are the people who ignite ideas, spark creativity. They like to be leaders. They like to go into places where others would fear to tread. They tend to be very brave, and they're also very calculated with risk. Mature cardinal signs are very, very good at risk. Now, those who are immature are going to do less of a calculated risk and just participate in risky behavior. And there is a difference with these cardinal signs. You can tell an evolved one because it's a calculated risk. Now, where they're great is having around to have fun with. They tend to be very creative. They tend to be very outgoing. They tend to have very strong opinions. That's how you can also tell an evolved cardinal is their opinions are placed in the right place, like seasoning a food. You can tell a cardinal who doesn't have an evolution is because the food is all over the place. There's spices everywhere. Where if you have an evolved cardinal sign, it's just lightly seasoned in the perfect way to give it a little bit of pop. Now, the second one is the fixed signs. Those are the stabilizers, the people who are secure, the ones you go to take your idea and put it into creation. Those are the people that will get things done. Not so much movers and shakers, but consistent and solid, and they have follow through. And normally when they tell you they're going to do something, they do it. Now, here's how you can tell the evolution of these fixed signs is that they will say that they will create something and then they never finish it. That's an unevolved fixed sign. Where an evolved one, they will follow it through and they won't make excuses, but if something stalls them, they will come forward in maturity and say, okay, I'm stalled here. Understand, I know that I can get through this. I just need a little bit of more time. They're the methodical ones too. When they're evolved, they're highly methodical. In fact, a lot of fixed signs get a false reputation of being slow. I feel like that's a really unfair characteristic. Being I am a fixed sign, I think we're more methodical and we like to think things through before we pounce on them, because once we do it, we want to do it correctly. And we want to do it to its best potential. We don't want to do something that's just halfway done. And that's how the fixed signs work. And the last are the mutables. Now, the mutable signs are the perfecters. They're the editors of the zodiac. They're the ones you take your project to when you're finished to have them look at it to make sure it's everything that it can be. They're good at looking at things, and they understand endings, and they understand the grace of endings. Now, where you can tell if a mutable is evolved is that they are fine with that. They don't fear finality. They understand that it's just the end to a new beginning. And so that's where they are in higher evolution. Now, when they're in lower evolution, they see that finality is finality. This is over, this is over, this is over. So they may take their time if they're not evolved in a way that's a little bit neurotic, where it's like, okay, I have to have this perfect. I have to have this perfect. I have to have this perfect. Once they're evolved, there's a more letting go of things and understanding that with this thing being let go, something else will be there for you. How this plays into attraction and what we find interesting. Well, as you can imagine, two cardinals are going to have a little bit of competition, especially if they're unevolved. If you have a spark of ignition and a spark of ignition, they're going to keep going at these ideas and going at these ideas and going at these ideas. And they may never ever agree to something in creation. It may always be constantly changing to where nothing is created. Now, if you get two of these fixed signs together, this could be a recipe for disaster in regards to sticks in the mud, just staring at each other, wondering where to go in creation. And so they just kind of stare at each other and things will just sort of fall apart and the idea never follows through. If you have two mutable signs together, well, things will never be finished. So you have people wanting to edit and wanting to edit and wanting to edit till it's no longer recognizable. And then they're wondering what they did all the work for anyway. But if you have a complementary in regards to having maybe a fixed sign with a cardinal, that can be really interesting because you have somebody who creates the idea and then another person who follows through with it. And that can be highly, highly good in relationship and highly compatible and highly attractive to another person. If you have a fixed sign who has a hard time finishing things or doing things and then letting them go out into the universe, which is usually a fixed sign's problem, is not so much finishing, but believing that somebody will want to look at it. If you have this mutable sign who looks at it and says, oh my God, this is beautiful, I would tweak this, I would change this to make this more marketable, then you've got a really great combination and a level of attraction that can happen there because we're all just looking for the thing that complements us in regards to loving relationships and romance and long-term relationships, be they romantic or partnerships or friendships or whatever. We're looking for those people who help us achieve our inner goals and our astrological sort of destinies, I guess is a good way to put it. So that's the cardinals, the fixed, and the mutables. And I am going to do some videos about the cardinals and the mutables and the fixed signs. But first I'm going to break down the fire signs and I will go ahead and do that now, but I will part from this. Now, please, please, please like my channel, subscribe to my channel. There is going to be a direct link to my website, my Facebook site. If you would like to book with me, please contact me at my website or through my email, which will be listed. And I am open to book an appointment with you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.